What is up, guys? Rick Kakis here, your source for the latest Destiny 2 news and information. And that's precisely what we're going over in today's video. New Destiny 2 information pertaining to the release date of Destiny, the development cycle, and actually post-launch support. So we're going to get into all of those in today's video, but firstly, I'm sure you guys want to know where this information is coming from. Well, this information is coming from direct quotes from the Activision CEO Eric Hirshberg during an Activision Blizzard financial conference call. Now, what that is really just a mechanism for Activision Blizzard as a company to be held accountable by its investors. If you're a shareholder of Activision Blizzard, you're going to want to know what that company has been up to, what its quarterly earnings look like, all of that stuff. So during this conference call, Eric Hirshberg, the CEO of Activision, again went over some updates for Destiny 2. Now, these conference calls, I believe, are going to become a much more lucrative place for Destiny 2 information the worse Call of Duty does. Now, the reason being is because Call of Duty is one of Activision's flagship franchises. It makes Activision a lot of money. And right now, Call of Duty, this isn't just, me being a hater or anything, it's been outright proven by pre-order numbers, etc., that Call of Duty right now really isn't doing that well. Infinite Warfare just isn't selling anywhere near as much as previous Call of Duties have. So, the worse Call of Duty does, the investors are going to be interested in other flagship franchises, most notably Destiny 2. Again, the worse Call of Duty does, the more information Activision is likely to divulge about Destiny 2 to keep investors happy and interested. So these conference calls are actually going to be, I think, a little bit more interesting, and we're going to have to pay a little bit more attention to them as they come out in the future. But that aside, let's go over the specific Destiny 2 information that came out in this particular conference call. The first quote I have, again, from Eric Hirshberg, CEO of Activision, goes as such, quote, "We're on track and excited about what we think is going to be an awesome sequel for Destiny in 2017. No announcements today on timing just yet, but what I will say is that the sequel is designed to excite both our highly engaged current players but also broaden the appeal even further, bringing in new fans and bringing back old fans as well. That is our primary focus right now." End quote. So, let's break down that quote because there's definitely some interesting pieces of information within it. Firstly, he said outright that Destiny 2 is on track for a 2017 release. That is generally a good thing. Now, there is the consensus within the gaming community that a lot of the times you're actually not super upset about a game being delayed because you like the finished product to be as finished as possible. If Mass Effect, the next Mass Effect Andromeda, came out and said, we're gonna need an extra few months, I'm sure the Mass Effect fans would actually be pretty understanding of that. You don't want a game to be rushed out. However, Destiny might be a little bit different because Destiny right now is still a very active game. We just had the Rise of Iron major expansion. So the committed Destiny players are likely to be playing Destiny pretty much right up until the release of Destiny 2. And therefore, delaying Destiny 2 into 2018, for example, is going to mean that right now Destiny 2 is going to be held afloat by live updates. The first one, Festival of the Lost, has been actually considered kind of a failure. So we're not off to a good start is what I'm saying there. And so if Destiny 2 is delayed, it's going to mean that the original Destiny will be likely to falter in its content offerings, and there's probably going to be another content drought if Destiny 2 is delayed all the way till 2018. So it's going to be quite the double-edged sword. On the one hand, you want the most completed, best product in Destiny 2. On the other hand, the Destiny franchise right now is built off constant engagement. You want to keep people playing, and if they delay the game, that's not going to be good for providing people with content. You don't want to go from a content drought and Destiny in not that great of a state into Destiny 2. But thankfully, the negative effects of a delay are unlikely to happen because, as the quote said, it's on track for a 2017 release. Now, the second interesting piece of information in this quote is that he really did stress broadening Destiny's appeal, appealing to new players as well as the current players. What that says to me is that Destiny 2 will still be rated T for teen. The Call of Duty franchise was actually rated T for teen at one point and then kicked it up to M for mature. And that was kind of seen overall as a good move, can be more nitty-gritty, can be more realistic. But for Destiny, if they're literally talking about wanting to broaden its appeal as a main goal, restricting the rating down to M for mature is probably not going to happen, so we're likely to see Destiny 2 rated T for teen again. Now, what I also hope this means as a Destiny fan is that they've streamlined the leveling process and also streamlined how you advance in Destiny 2. If you think of the original Destiny, especially just the original vanilla Destiny when it launched, the leveling process was a little bit confusing. You leveled up, and then you leveled up again with the light leveling system. The layout of the activities didn't really make a ton of sense because the campaign was done and over with and became, completely useless very quickly. Then you had strikes, then you had a huge shoot up in difficulty to the Nightfall, then you had another huge shoot up in difficulty to the Raid. It wasn't the most beginner-friendly, user-friendly leveling experience, so hopefully they have much more of a gradual slope in Destiny 2 rather than a jagged staircase what it was in the original Destiny. Now, moving on, we actually have another big Eric Hirshberg quote about Destiny 2. Quote, "Beyond that, the incredible demand for Destiny content has somewhat outpaced our ability to deliver upon that demand. And going forward, along with our partners at Bungie, we put together what we believe is a very smart approach that will allow us to deliver the steady stream of great content to keep our players engaged and keep our universe alive and growing in the wake of that sequel." Now, that is definitely some promising news. If you guys can remember, the original Destiny development cycle was very messy. A lot of the stuff that was being developed was scrapped only a year out, so they really had to scramble and throw together a bunch of stuff, and that led to definitely a downgrade in quality. So that definitely hurt the Destiny franchise right out of the gate. This time around, it doesn't look like that's happening. They have a much more solid, concrete plan on what's going on, and we're going to get a much more solid release, hopefully, this time around. But like Eric Hirshberg said, the original Destiny, it came out, it had two relatively, I guess, looking back, kind of underwhelming expansions, but the demand for content for the game was still very, very high. You had all of these mediocre content offerings, but at its core, Destiny was still a very fun, enjoyable, popular thing, so people just wanted more and more and more. And the Taken King was the first very big content offering. That was generally considered like a great expansion for the game, really moved it forward from what it was in year one. So this is really, again, just super promising. It looks like now they probably have a concrete roadmap in what they're going to do. Last time they really just stumbled around and added things, and the Rise of Iron is a great example of that. The Rise of Iron was never supposed to release. It was never part of the original plan. They made the Rise of Iron because they realized Destiny 2 is not going to be coming out until 2017, and therefore it's just unrealistic to have live updates all the way until Destiny 2, for 2 years. So they came together and said, we need another large expansion. This time around, hopefully they'll have a much more solid plan about what's happening. So release comes out, we have a couple of live updates, then a big expansion, then a couple of live updates, and then maybe a yearly huge expansion, and then more live updates, small expansion, more live updates, a big expansion, just keeping us more entertained, having a better, more reliable, more consistent flow of content through Destiny 2, lasting us until Destiny 3. Because that approach of offering a game and then offering constant content, updates, and after launch support for that game for the next several years seems to be the better approach when compared to, the traditional Call of Duty approach, where they're coming out with a game every year. People seem to not be as interested as updating and abandoning the last game that quickly. And the Destiny model of having this constant flow of content, keeping players engaged for several years while the next game is kind of in development, again seems like the somewhat better approach. The Rise of Iron made more money for Bungie than the original launch of Destiny did, and that shows you that building up the player base, building up all of these Destiny players who joined the game in all of these different, places. I was playing since the Destiny Alpha. I'm sure some of you guys joined before the Taken King, after the Taken King, but you build up this massive player base so that every time you release content, it's a bigger deal. More people get invested in the game. And again, they seem to have realized this and have a much more concrete plan about what they're going to be doing with Destiny 2. So that is very promising news. Very, very promising. With the original Destiny, we definitely had some areas where content wasn't flowing. As Eric Hirschberg himself admits, there was content droughts, live updates were underwhelming. So hopefully for Destiny 2, this can be avoided. So guys, that's going to be it for the latest Destiny 2 information and analysis of that information. Hope you guys enjoyed and found this informative. Now, if you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you want to see more Destiny content and keep up to date with the latest Destiny 2 news, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. Now, if you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickHackis. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.